Hi everyone, welcome to another My Life in Objects. So for this episode, I thought I'd share this wonderful publication. So this ticks a number of boxes for various reasons. One of the boxes it ticks, and I don't know if anybody's the same as me, but often when you're, going to another country, visiting, like I'm living over in Nova Scotia and have been for the last, since basically 2010 actually. And so every year I visit the UK, and so when I'm over there, there's certain things I like to pick up. So I normally like to pick up a book that I might not find here through browsing, or some clothing. And another thing I like to pick up is a magazine. And normally I try and find a best of, or some sort of aggregation issue where they're sort of collecting together lists, because I love lists. And as I think I've said before, is that I'm not one of these people that sort of shakes their fist at the publication and moans because their favourite band is in it. I actually buy them because it exposes me to albums I wouldn't otherwise get exposed to. And that moves on to the second reason why I bought this, is that really, I would say, if I'm honest, from the 2010s onwards, which really for me is the era of streaming. I mean, I did start doing streaming a bit before that because I was an early adopter of Spotify and Deezer when they first came out, and various other things as well, like, I don't know if anyone remembers things like Screamer, and there are other services that sort of operated in that streaming grey area that were around sort of pre the 2010s. And so what happened to me, and I don't know if anybody else was the same, is now I'm suddenly in this era of streaming, and I'm exposed to this smorgasbord of albums which I really wanted to listen to, but didn't want to go out and buy them because I just literally couldn't afford it. And now they're all there. So of course I probably spent the last 15 years. Sometimes I've been looking at albums that have come out in a particular year, but a lot of the time it's focusing backwards on stuff that I missed out. Particularly in the 90s, there's a whole load of albums, because I sort of, less of my money was going on buying albums in the 90s probably. And so there's albums in the 90s, particularly in extreme music, that I missed out on, so I wanted to listen to a lot of that. There's a number of post-rock bands that came out in the 2000s which I didn't catch on to, which I want to listen to that, and certain genres which I listened to missed out in the 2000s, and then going back, it may be albums from the 70s which I missed out on, stuff like that. So yeah, so it was nice to get this as a sort of overview, and to get me actually a bit up to date in some genres. And I really sort of love these sort of books. So actually, the Sleaford Mods was one band that I did pick up on, although I was probably a little bit late to the party. But it's got this usual format you see when you've got a publication that's got a ton of albums in it. So the higher numbers, it'll do this little, quick bit of blurb, and then as you go down, that through the hundreds, same sort of thing. So I'm really looking forward to actually, I've tried to leave this as nice as possible, so I've put off reading this until I came to shoot the video. And again, I'm shooting this video a bit ahead of when it's releasing, so by the time you've seen this video, I would have probably devoured the magazine. But I've been very good. I've been putting it to one side and reading other stuff. And there's Divide and Exit by the Sleaford Mods. Yeah, so it's nice as well because when it's laid out like this, there was a period, probably I would say, in, when would it be? I was trying to think of the period where I stopped going to record stores quite so much. It's probably in the 2010s actually. And so I wasn't experienced that thing I've spoken before, where you'd walk through the record store and you'd see all these albums on display, and so you recognise certain album covers more than others. For a lot of this, there's none I recognise hardly at all. And like I said, there was a number of bands that I was keeping tabs on in the 2010s into the 2020s. So maybe bands like Alcest and Deaf Heaven and bands like that. A few of the bands like, who else? Explosions in the... Although Explosions in the Sky, I think their sort of output tapered off a little bit in terms of studio albums as they got more into soundtracks, I think, in the 2010s. So now you're sort of moving into the... Where are we? This would be the top 50, so it's a bit more of a generous thing here. So we've got Slow Dive. A few more of these I actually recognise, which doesn't surprise me. So Daft Punk's Random Access Memory, that album cover, what else here? So I was also interested to see they got these, which I didn't see at the time in the UK. I don't know whether they've subsequently come out. I'll have to look through the back catalogue, because yeah, they've done, it looks like they've done ones for each decade, which could work out expensive for me. But this was definitely the one I would have gone after, because I have a lot of similar things in different publications. Like I've got a classic rock one that covers, I think one magazine does the 70s, one for the 80s, one for the 90s, that sort of thing. And I think I've got another publication that did the 2000s, those sort of things. So this was nice, 2010s onwards. But, yeah, that's Beyonce, Nick Cave. So now we're getting down into the top 20. We're getting much generous spread here. So Arctic Monkeys, yeah. So these are like full-on things here. I wonder if they picked certain albums over others. Yeah, mate, looks like they did there. Yeah, so certain albums over other ones. So it looks like, well, we've got 2 pages now dedicated to the top 20. Maybe more as well. It looks like there's a bit more deep dive here in the something called Inner Sleeve by the look of things. This is the first time I properly opened this, so this is really nice. And I try and do this with new stuff, is I try and actually wait until I can shoot it, because I like the sort of excitement that I get when I do it this way. That's Taylor Swift. Oh, this one, yeah, LCD Sound System from 2017. Okay. Oh, Ghosteen, I have this in vinyl. It's an awesome album. Now Push Away the Sky. Yeah. BV, My Bloody Valentine. Okay, Moonshaped Pool. I did listen to that album, I think, quite a while after it came out though. Low Double Negative. That's a really good album. I did listen to that, but fairly recently. In fact, I think what I did, I got a sneak peek at this list somewhere else, I think, and I went through and I did, now I think about it, I did listen to like the top 5 of these, where I hadn't listened to any of them before then, so oh, My Life in Music. Where do we end up here? So yeah, so no surprise, they've done quite an extensive coverage for Black Star, which I did thoroughly enjoy listening to. I'd listened to bits of it, but I'd not really sat down properly and consumed it as an album. There we go. I tried to keep this as flat as possible, but part of it was probably being in my luggage on the plane back as well. Yeah, I'll have to put it under something heavy there. It's moving up a little bit. So there we have it. That was the Ultimate Record Collection, the 500 greatest albums of the 2010s to now. And like I said, I don't mind these ones, I don't find myself like shaking my fist at the choices, because I really do like to use it as a way of exploring albums that I didn't listen to. So sometimes I quite like it when it doesn't have my favourite albums in it. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.